Hello and welcome to a video that's about setting up immersive monitoring and setting up the Apple TV here at Nescom Control-C. First thing to say, if you haven't already, please watch the setup videos for the computer and for Pro Tools, because there's a lot of steps there that need to be done that I'm not covering in this video. One of the important things is you should have already moved some apps over here to the dock. And in this particular case, since this is for immersive monitoring, you want to make sure the binaural render has been moved to the dock, as well as WS Control app, Pro Tools. I would put in the Dolby Atmos album assembler and the Atmos renderer, and you just have to drag those from the applications folder over here. Next thing, very important, and I talk about this in other videos, is get the WS Control app to auto launch WS Control and auto launch Matrix. And when it auto launches, when you sign in, it will talk to the console, the S6. And the other thing it will do is it will load up DADMan. And DADMan, if it's the first time you've used a user, it may not see DADMan, and you'll want an IP address to show up in this device list. This device list window usually pops up the first time you ever boot up DADMan. If you see it and you want to make sure there's an IP address, and you want to click connect here. So, oh, it just crashed. That was sweet. So let's try that again here. What I was about to say was, if you don't see that there, reload DADMan, ignore. So here we are, we get to reload DADMan anyway on camera. And I'm not going to edit it out because reloading DADMan is kind of part of your life here. It's part of this room. So let's try it again. And now it's seeing everybody. And the cool thing about connecting it to the port, you only have to really do that once. You probably won't ever have to do that again until you log in on a different user. Next thing, let's actually talk, before we get back to DADMan, let's talk about the analog side of this. There are two monitoring systems in Control-C. There's the stereo system, which includes the Genelecs and the NS10s and the Ortones, and that's all controlled by this. And if you're stereo mixing, you're going to mix through the central station. But if you're immersive mixing and you want to use all the speakers around you, you have to use the S6 to do that. So the first thing you probably want to do is turn down the speakers, because you don't want a situation where output 1 and 2 of Pro Tools go to the left and right immersive speakers and they go to the stereo speakers via this, because then you're going to have multiple speakers producing the same things. They're going to be out of phase. You're going to have comb filtering, and the severity of the combing will depend on what level you have this at. So you really want to turn this down. Now, there's a side note here. You may want to watch videos. Perhaps you're even watching this video right now from the Mac. You press Mac, and you can listen to the speakers through the video. Just don't have it on Pro Tools with this volume up. So to really kind of re-advise what I was just saying, just make sure you're not listening to Pro Tools. Make sure you're listening to Mac. Okay, make sense? But anyway, the next thing that needs to happen is you have to patch cables for immersive. You don't want any cables for stereo mixing, but you want cables for immersive. You're not going to need better lighting than you have for this, but basically, the second patch bay up, you feel free to zoom in and hopefully get some light here. Matrix outputs 1 through 14 need to be patched into, and it's hard to see under here. I think it's purple, and it just probably says immersive speakers or something like that. It's inputs 1 through 14. I never look at the labels. I just know that I have to patch 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 14 times. If you do it 14 times, you'll get 9.1.4, which is what the speaker configuration we have. Okay, so now you know what's going on. We need to set up DADMan to be ready for 9.1.4. Now, I said this in the stereo video, and I'll say it again now. You need to go get a fresh copy of the DADMan files presets. There's a couple places it lives. It lives in the Studio C hard drive. You can copy, and I would take and copy DADMan files to the desktop of your user. You can also download it from the hybrid mixing techniques or the immersive audio course canvas, and have your own personal copy of it in a folder somewhere, because a DADMan, when you unzip it and it makes a copy of the anyway, with DADMan, whenever you sign out of the user, it asks you to save, and you don't want to save on top of DADMan. So having your own fresh copy means that when other people accidentally save and mess up DADMan, you have your own copy to open. That's what I'm saying. So anyway, those files, DADMan files, here they are. We're going to open them through DADMan. File, open. And there's two things to open. You have configuration to open and a profile. First, we'll open the configuration. And if you're stereo mixing, you'd open stereo. But if you're opening immersive, obviously we want to do 914. We have some choices here. 914 normal and 914 wall position. Now, you're going to have to see what this is. This is the normal configuration where the speakers are sitting out in the room. And since we use this as a classroom, people can't sit here. When we're a lot of the time during classroom, this gets moved over against the wall. There's gaff tape on the floor that shows where the speaker stands sit. It sounds better out here in the normal position. But you can work in the wall position too if you need to. It just changes the delay times and the EQ for the rear speakers a little bit. So make your determination about which preset you're loading based on where the speakers are at behind you. In this case, we're in normal, so I'm going to open normal. There's the configuration. I open it. It's now resetting the matrix for immersive. And now the next thing, open profile. And I'm going to open this same thing, the normal profile. I've got the volume down on the central station. Got my patch cables in play. So we're doing pretty good here. Always reopen DADMan. Every single time you sit down and work, you do not want to use the previous person's DADMan. You do need to make sure any sessions you use with DADMan are 48 kilohertz, or you have to manually change DADMan down here, change its sample rate. That changes the matrix. And when you finally sign out at the end of your work, it will ask you to save. Don't save. It should ask you twice, don't save, because you want it to be fresh and clean, just like me, every time you load and you start working. Okay, now that we got DADMan up and working, Pro Tools, boot up Pro Tools, and I've already done this. You want to make sure Pro Tools is talking to Yukon. It's pretty simple. You're in Pro Tools. There's a little drop-down menu up here. Make sure Yukon is visible. And sometimes it's hard to see on the screen, so you kind of have to expand the screen out a little bit and find Yukon. And if it's been pressed, it turns green. It's already been pressed. And so it's green. That means Pro Tools is talking to the S6, and you definitely want that to work. Now, on the S6 itself, to make monitoring work, this area right here becomes your, this area right here kind of controls DADMan. This is your master monitor pot, and you want to uncut the speakers and turn them up. Now, just a side note, zoom up there. As I play with that cut button, you'll see it turn on and off in DADMan. That's the cut button, and this is the monitor pot. And here's another subtle thing, like it's actually down here as a fader when you're in DADMan as well. This is the same as that controller. You could press other buttons here and it kind of mess you up. These other buttons select between the Mac input, which is coming from Pro Tools, and the receiver input, which I'll show you in a minute, comes from Apple TV. Now, what else is important? Apple TV. Now we're getting into the good stuff. For the Apple TV to work, all this that you just did had to work. Now, Apple TV is how we listen to Apple Spatial Audio. It's hiding under here. So let's find the Apple TV remote. Don't aim it up that way. It's down here. I hold it down low. Usually it works in this area, but turn the volume, hit the power button. And I'm about to stick my balding head in the camera, and I can see a little blue LED under there that the Apple TV is on. Next thing, the Apple TV spits out HDMI and is converted to analog via this Anthem receiver. So I'm going to turn the Anthem receiver on. And it's pretty cool. And it's usually the last person probably left it on Apple TV, although we do have a Blu-ray input as well. You can listen to Atmos Blu-rays in here. If you want to switch between Blu-ray and Apple TV, these select buttons, you can use either the knob or the select buttons, but when you get to Apple TV, or Blu-ray, when you want it, hit the select button. Leave it set to -6. That seems to be a pretty decent calibration level. Now, to see the Apple TV, this is the hard part. You need to make that TV work. And out of all the equipment in this room, that TV is the biggest pain in the ass. So first note, you need a Samsung remote. Note that the TVs are the same. So if I turn the TV on right now, it will turn the other TV off. That's a drag. So what you need to do is look very awkwardly, lean across here, point the remote just under the Samsung logo, and turn it on, and then the other TV won't see the infrared control. Now, the possibility of this actually seeing Apple TV, oh my God, it actually saw Apple TV. This is pretty rare. I have found, usually if I turn on Apple TV and then I turn on the receiver, then I turn on the TV, it works okay. But if I turn the TV on first, it doesn't work okay. So I would suggest you do it in that order. The other thing is sometimes the TV misbehaves. There's a couple critical troubleshooting features that need to be set, and now we're diving in here, but I'm going to hold the settings button down on the TV, and I'm going to, oh boy, I'm doing it for both TVs, so that's a problem. I want to go down to general, and usually you don't have to do this, but every once in a while you might have to. If your TV refuses to work, go to general, and then I believe it's external device manager, and I'm hitting enter. And these things here, AnyNet, HDMI, CEC, need to be turned off. That if I press the button right now, I can make it white and turn it on. And the really important one, if I'm going to enter here, input signal, you want that off. If I press it on, the TV gets too smart and disables the Apple TV. So these are some features that can really run into issues. And if you end up troubleshooting, which let me tell you, you will. I'm going to hit return now and exit out of all this. If you run into any other issues, the receiver is plugged into input 1 of the TV. Now to actually hear Apple TV, so I'll just really quickly go play some music here to make sure that I can prove that this works. Okay, I was doing the stupid thing here. Got to do it with the Apple TV remote. Let me go to Apple Music. Atmos stuff here. So this is going to be Atmos. Now, here's the critical thing, how to actually hear this. 2 ways. You can either use the console or you can use DADMan. They're both the same thing in the background. Turn on monitoring, and you could switch between Pro Tools, which is labeled Mac, and receiver, which is there. And in DADMan, all I just did was mute one and unmute the other. So that's Pro Tools and that's receiver. Now when I turn the level up, we should hear Elton John in All Around Us in Immersive. I miss my wife. So a whole lot to this video. It's challenging. If you run into problems, go back to the beginning and work through it. Still can't make it work, give me a call. Good luck.